There's this new movie, if you don't know about it, called Wicked. Hollywood, once again, is exposing how evil it really is. Christians are, should I go watch a movie called Wicked? Why do we even have to make a video about that? Why do we even have to discuss it? If the movie's named Wicked, I don't care what it's about. I'm not gonna go watch it.
If you're really emotional over these sorts of films, then just know that there's a manipulation there, because that's what witchcraft is. It is manipulation. They're manipulating you emotionally. The demons, the witchcraft, the spells, okay?
What this is spiritual grooming for witchcraft and the demonic.
These people are exactly what they call their movie. They are wicked, they are evil.
The interviews should be about the film and the production, but you know, they always spin it in some form or another to make it gay.
If you are a Christian parent that pays for this film and doesn't tithe to your church, you are literally funding evil rather than the gospel, and you are part of the problem.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor, and on this channel we talk about life and relationships after leaving the church and do some commentary on the goings-on in evangelical Christianity. So the hat is back. I know this is the third time in a row that I've worn this hat in videos, but I mean, it's wicked. Like, I have to wear the basic witch hat, right? If you've followed me for a long time, you'll probably know that I went to boarding school for my sophomore year of high school. This boarding school is actually where I first met one of the most important people in my life, my best friend, Sadem. I can't begin to articulate just how wonderful Sadem is. I'm truly privileged to know her. In the dorm, our rooms were right next to each other and we shared a connected bathroom, so as you can imagine, we were kind of always in each other's business. One of my earliest memories of dorm life is overhearing Sadem belting Defying Gravity at the top of her lungs from the other room. One thing about Sadem is that she has a voice and isn't afraid to use it. That's something I love about her. Another thing about Sadem is that she's a huge musical theater nerd, and her favorite musical is, you guessed it, Wicked.
But like the thing I think that's the most inspiring about it is that the fact that Elphaba in the movie is played by a Black queer woman just like adds so much more layers to that. Thing is that the fact that I see her, Elphaba, pick herself up as a character, something that I find so inspiring was that despite all of that, she still continues to bet on herself. And she does it again and again and again. And as you'll see in part 2, again and again and again.
Unfortunately, as a teenager, I didn't follow Sadem into the Wicked fandom, which is something I really regret now. I was familiar with some of the musical's big numbers only because Sadem would sing them all the time, and I was aware that it was a spin-off of The Wizard of Oz, but that was pretty much the extent of my knowledge. It wasn't until I saw the new Wicked movie that I finally learned what it was all about. A few days after watching it, I gushed over the movie with Sadem and told her that I finally understood why she loved this musical so much. I get it now.
It was a very emotional experience, me watching Wicked. I was like, this is so beautiful. I totally understand why Sadem loves it now. I get it.
I probably don't need to say this, but this video will contain many spoilers for the movie, so if you haven't seen Wicked yet and don't want it spoiled, I suggest returning to this video after you've seen the movie. I'm not going to recap the entire plot, but basically, Wicked is the untold story of the Wicked Witch of the West. It flips the Wizard of Oz narrative on its head and reveals that the Wicked Witch is not evil, but misunderstood. Her epithet of wicked is simply propaganda used to maintain the status quo and keep those in power, namely the wizard, in power. Wicked, then, is an allegory for the tactics of fascist regimes. The movie parallels any number of historical events, from the Holocaust of the Jews in World War II to the scapegoating of trans folks by our fascist president-elect. Given how the movie and musical brilliantly lay out the mechanics of power, propaganda, and marginalization, something that the evangelical Christian right desperately wants to hide, I wasn't surprised to see evangelical content creators come out with response videos to the movie and warn their audience against seeing it. I was, however, surprised at just how awful many of these response videos were. Like, there's no sugarcoating it. These are some dog shit response videos.
They have made a blood sacrifice to one another, and they've also made a blood sacrifice to this film. So no wonder it's doing so well.
I knew that media literacy among evangelicals wasn't great, but I didn't realize just how bad it's become. It's become so bad that they can't even provide their audience with the standard conservative drivel anymore. Media literacy among many evangelicals is entirely dead. So in today's video, I'd like us to perform an autopsy on this death. First, we'll define what we mean by media literacy. Then we'll look at some of the running themes I've noticed in the response videos of a few prominent evangelical content creators. Finally, I'll throw it over to my bestie Sadem to give her analysis of the movie from the perspective of someone who's both knowledgeable in musical theater and has experienced the effects of marginalization. Before we dive in, I want to clarify that I'm not saying that media literacy is dead among Christians or even among all evangelical Christians. In fact, Sadem is a progressive Christian herself and feels that the moral lessons from Wicked embody aspects of her faith, like caring for the downtrodden and sticking by your principles in the face of adversity. That being said, there is a strong undercurrent of Christian nationalism within evangelicalism, and the content creators I'll discuss today not only ride that undercurrent, but also strengthen it. All right, let's dive in. So, what do we mean by media literacy? Before I started working on this video, I had a vague understanding of what this meant. I understood media literacy as the ability to analyze a piece of media, like a movie, YouTube video, or book, for its overall messaging. As I've since learned, this is a part of media literacy, but it's not the whole picture. To understand this concept better, I watched Zoe B's video, YouTube and the Death of Media Literacy. As you can probably tell, the title of Zoe's video greatly inspired my title. In her video, Zoe explains that there isn't a singular definition of media literacy. To academics, media literacy often refers to nonfiction works like news articles and the ability of the reader to accurately evaluate a source's credibility and bias. To laypersons, on the other hand, media literacy often refers to works of fiction, like movies and books, and the ability of the viewer to distill the overall message. Zoe interviewed dozens of people about how they define media literacy, and one definition I really liked was the ability to differentiate plot from story. I think this definition is particularly poignant when talking about Wicked. Not only should the viewer have the ability to understand Wicked's plot, meaning the literal actions taken to move the story forward, but they should also understand the more significant point the musical is trying to make. Wicked isn't just a musical about witchcraft. Rather, witchcraft is a metaphorical tool used to illustrate power and marginalization. From a writer's perspective, this is an obvious choice given that throughout history, marginalized groups, especially women rebelling against societal norms, were wrongfully accused of witchcraft as a means for those at the highest echelons of society to exert power and control. As we'll soon see, this isn't something that evangelical content creators seem to understand. We'll return to Zoe's video later, but now that we have a basic understanding of media literacy, let's look at what evangelicals are saying about the movie. I want to talk about a handful of running themes that I've noticed from the response videos of three prominent content creators. Angela Marie Scafidi, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing her last name, I'm not completely sure how to pronounce it, Isaiah Saldivar, and everyone's favorite disgraced but somehow still popular pastor, Mark Driscoll. I'll first show a few clips from their videos to illustrate each theme and then provide my thoughts. Wicked is designed to manipulate people into witchcraft.
God creates, Satan counterfeits. That is an evangelistic appeal through a mainstream movie to convert an entire generation to the demonic and to witchcraft, particularly young women, which has always been the nefarious appeal of witchcraft and paganism and sorcery and divination. What this is spiritual grooming for witchcraft and the demonic.
If you're really emotional over these sorts of films, then just know that there's a manipulation there, because that's what witchcraft is. It is manipulation. They're manipulating you emotionally, the demons, the witchcraft, the spells, okay? So that you can come into agreement with it through your flesh. It's all very intentional. There is a demonic, sinister agenda by and large here, especially with a movie all about witchcraft. And what aside from that, aside from just like us partnering with witchcraft, them saying spells over the audience and all these sorts of things, what this is also doing is that it is desensitizing witchcraft, which is probably the biggest danger of all, because when we see movies where witchcraft is portrayed as just so whimsical and magical and cool, right? We see a good witch versus a bad witch fighting magic with magic. We see all these things. It makes us enticed by it, but it also makes us completely numb to it. Like, we don't think twice about it.
Do they not understand metaphor? Fantasy, which includes themes of witchcraft and magic, is a popular genre often used to communicate a didactic message. Not everything written in novels or shown in movies is meant to be taken so literally. Driscoll claims that Wicked is an evangelistic appeal, which tells me that he thinks Broadway and the film industry share his mission. See, when Driscoll preaches from the pulpit or films his reaction videos, he does want his audience to take what he says literally. He hopes his preaching catalyzes someone's conversion to Christianity. Mark Driscoll is making an evangelistic appeal. This reminds me of something Dr. Joseph Laycock said in one of Drew's videos. I know. I'm always referencing Joe's work in my videos these days. He's basically an honorary co-host of the channel at this point. Anyway, Joe was talking to Drew about the 1980s moral panic surrounding Dungeons and Dragons when he said this.
Why, of all the things that conservative Christians could have been upset about in the 80s, did they focus so much on a game that was played by basically nerdy boys, right, at that time? And one of the kind of conclusions is that in a lot of ways, religion functions kind of like a massive fantasy role-playing game. And I think at least some of the people making this claim that this is a satanic, cultish game realized that connection. And it was in some ways a defense mechanism, right? It was not, my religion isn't a fantasy role-playing game, your game is a religion. And that kind of helps, pushes those thoughts down. So I think that's at least part of what was happening there with that panic.
Joe has written an entire book about D&D if you guys are interested. And he and Drew have several courses that they put together about how horror movies have influenced America's religious landscape. And his book and the courses will be pinned down in the description below if you guys want to check it out. So of all the things that evangelicals could be upset about right now, why are they upset about a whimsical musical starring bubblegum pop star Ariana Grande? Well, firstly, Wicked is massively popular. And evangelicals seem to lambast anything popular unless it's overtly Christian. Secondly, similar to the defensive posture conservative Christians took against D&D, these evangelical content creators knowingly or unknowingly defend their evangelistic efforts from accusations of manipulation by claiming that movies are actually manipulative evangelism. They defensively accuse popular media of being manipulative to obfuscate the fact that their methods of evangelism are often manipulative. As for Wicked targeting specifically young women for witchcraft and the demonic, this is a tale as old as time. The idea that women are more susceptible to the devil's schemes and thus to witchcraft can be traced back to the witch hunts of medieval Europe and witch hunting manuals like the Malleus Maleficarum. In the Malleus, which was published in the 15th century by two German clergy of the Dominican order, it says, "All witchcraft comes from carnal lust, which is in women insatiable." This line also just happens to be in one of my favorite ghost songs of all time, Stand By Him, just saying.
All witchcraft comes from
There was never any evidence that anyone practiced witchcraft during this time, and so-called confessions were almost always coerced under the threat of torture. Nowadays, there actually are those who practice contemporary witchcraft. Some witches, specifically some Gardnerian Wiccans, maintain that witchcraft is a pre-Christian religion that survived the dominance of Christianity through a secretive forced coven in England. They say that the repeal of anti-witchcraft laws in the 20th century allowed the religion to spread once more. However, no historical evidence supports these ideas. That being said, the survival of witchcraft through the England Forest Coven serves as a collective myth for many Wiccans, even for those who accept its dubious historicity. Many witches see witchcraft as a mostly modern phenomenon that arose, at least partly, as a reclamation of the term itself. Basically, if people like Mark Driscoll didn't constantly accuse women of being evil witches simply for not conforming to societal norms, then maybe fewer women would reclaim this term for the purpose of self-liberation. This is why Wicked using a witch as a metaphor for marginalized groups makes perfect sense, because marginalized groups have historically been accused of witchcraft. I mean, the logic is logicking. You can tell the movie is bad because it's literally called Wicked.
If you are a believer and you're wondering whether you should go watch a movie called Wicked or not, the title should be enough. The word wicked means evil or morally wrong. Yet Christians, of course, are supporting it like they do every other wicked thing. Christians are, should I go watch a movie called Wicked? Why do we even have to make a video about that? Why do we even have to discuss it? If the movie's named Wicked, I don't care what it's about. I'm not going to go watch it. Why would I support something that's titled Wicked? Evil, morally wrong. And then people are shocked when there's all these hidden agendas, all these weird things in the movie, all these weird things that happen to the actors. Well, you name your movie evil, morally wrong. What do you think is going to happen?
You don't have to be a genius to know that the title is very accurate. Wicked. It's not even hiding. It used to be that Satan and demons and evil and witchcraft, they would have to lurk in the shadows, but now they're just walking around in the light of day. And just think if the title instead of wicked was demonic or evil or corrupt or lying, it's all the same demonic realm working together to do evil.
Oh my God. It's titled Wicked because, for one, it focuses on the story of the Wicked Witch of the West, and for two, because it calls into question what it means to be wicked or evil and how these terms are often used to malign marginalized groups. It's not called Wicked to, encourage people to do bad shit. I mean, are the writers of the Christian thriller Left Behind encouraging people to literally be left behind during the rapture? I mean, of course not. This isn't difficult to understand. The Mattel toy incident.
I want you to hear about what happened with the dolls that they made for this movie.
They had the toys out for the movie, and then on the back of it, it said www.wicked.com. And if you went to that website, it was a literal website for pornography, a literal website for it. And these are on the back of children's toys. And they had to take the toys off the shelves. I remember me and my husband went into Target for something about a month ago, and all the shelves for the Wicked toys were empty because they took them off once this got out. And they called it an accident. Guys, this is not an accident. It's not an accident. This did not get through by mistake. Something that big doesn't get through by mistake.
This is not an accident. These people are exactly what they call their movie. They are wicked. They are evil. And the fact that they're marketing to children pornography is despicable. It's disgusting. It's demonic. I don't know how many lives are going to get ruined through this, but we're going to show you an article in a moment. But this is just sad.
It doesn't sound as far-fetched now when I'm saying things like, they're after your kids. There's a demonic, sinister agenda here, because this in and of itself is proof enough.
So, yeah. It's true that Mattel accidentally printed a website linking to adult entertainment on the back of the packaging of their Wicked dolls. I know that shit's really embarrassing for Mattel. The company ended up apologizing and pulled the dolls from shelves as soon as it was discovered. That being said, it's ludicrous to suggest that the company did this on purpose to harm children. For one, Mattel came out with other Wicked-themed toys that didn't have this website error. If this was done intentionally, why didn't their other products have the wrong website on their packaging? For two, it's easy to understand why this error happened, since the wrong website, wicked.com, and the correct website, wickedmovie.com, are so similar. Applying Occam's razor, or the principle that the simplest explanation is usually correct, what makes more sense? That someone at Mattel just thought the website was wicked.com rather than wickedmovie.com? Or that there's some big conspiracy to trick children into going to an adult website using cardboard packaging that they'll probably immediately tear off and throw out. A defining feature of many moral panics is the claim that some secretive group is after your children. Children are often considered innocent and defenseless, and people, understandably, are easily upset by the suggestion that some group is out there harming kids, even if there isn't any evidence to support this. Of course, horrible things do happen to children, but it's still important to seek evidence for such claims. I mean, in this situation, it's even unclear what group is supposedly behind the sinister demonic agenda in the first place. Is it Mattel? Is it Wicked? Is it like Hollywood in general? I don't know. They never say. I think it's worth questioning a claim's validity if the person making the claim is that vague about important details, like who's behind it in the first place. Wicked is part of the gay agenda.
This film is an evangelistic attempt to take young women, to cause them to have gender confusion, to have sort of sexual desires that are outside of normal male-female relationships. You can see that with the emotional, spiritual intimacy and connection between the females.
The interviews should be about the film and the production, but you know, they always spin it in some form or another to make it gay. You're partnering with witchcraft and you're partnering with perversion because of this. And I'm not shaming anybody in that community because they're victims. They're victims of an evil, wicked, no pun intended, devil.
Okay, so Wicked wasn't spun to be gay. Wicked is gay. In their aptly titled video, The Wizard of Oz and Wicked Have Always Been Gay, Kaz Rowe details how queer characters and themes were always part of the larger Oz world. L. Frank Baum, the writer of the original 1900 novel The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, often published using female pseudonyms. There were practical reasons for doing this, but Baum also liked pushing societal gender boundaries. In his second book in the Oz series, The Marvelous Land of Oz, a male character even transforms into a princess, Princess Ozma, the rightful ruler of Oz. Although it's not explicit, Princess Ozma and Dorothy end up having something like a romantic relationship. These were queer characters written over 100 years ago, long before Wicked. Like, I'm sorry, Angela, but some things have just always been gay. You're just too uneducated to realize that. As for Wicked, the author Gregory Maguire always intended for Elphaba and Glinda to be something of a couple. However, Maguire preferred this relationship be interpreted by the reader rather than it being explicitly stated. In an interview with Them magazine, he even said the sapphic tension between the characters was intentional. In the book, Elphaba and Glinda actually kiss, and the romantic nature of the kiss seems intentionally ambiguous. It's also heavily implied in the book that Elphaba is intersex. So if anything, the Wicked musical and subsequent movie watered down some of the queer aspects of the book. There's definitely still queer subtext in the musical and film, and many Wicked fans ship Elphaba and Glinda over Elphaba and Fiyero, but it honestly could have been a lot more gay than it was, in my opinion. I heard the discourse about Elphaba and Glinda actually being a queer couple before I saw the movie, so I was like fully prepared for some spicy interactions between these characters, but Honestly, that's not really how it came across to me. As Mark Driscoll says, there definitely is an emotional and spiritual intimacy between Elphaba and Glinda, but why does that automatically mean they're romantically involved? Platonic friendships can be just as emotionally and spiritually intimate as romantic relationships. I mean, the intimacy between Elphaba and Glinda reminded me a lot of my friendship with Saddam. We're two lifelong friends with polar opposite personalities who deeply care and love one another. Saddam is one of the most important people in my life. Of course, the idea that platonic friendships can be on the same level as romantic ones is a challenge to heteronormativity in itself, so at the end of the day, like, everything's gay, okay? It's all gay. This ambiguity is also kind of what Gregory Maguire was going for in the first place. You can interpret Elphaba and Glinda's relationship in any way you want and not be wrong. So, given that the vibes between Elphaba and Glinda in Wicked are primarily subtext, it seems to me that what Mark Driscoll and Angela Scafidi are actually upset about is that people perceive these characters as queer. It doesn't matter if the movie didn't include any actual gay relationships between main characters. Driscoll and Scafidi don't want people to even speculate about such things. See how quickly stop shoving your lifestyle in my face turns into, actually, we don't even want you, thinking about gay stuff. I think this reveals that people like Driscoll and Scafidi ultimately want to control what people think or feel. Instead of seeing Wicked, buy my stuff.
It is demonic, satanic grooming. And it is an attempt to convert them to a pagan ideology of feminism and witchcraft. And it is an attempt for you to spend money so that you can fund a demonic ideology. And lastly, I would say this. If you are a Christian parent that pays for this film and doesn't tithe to your church, you are literally funding evil rather than the gospel, and you are part of the problem.
I thought I would cover this because it's a wake-up call for us as parents, just to be aware with what our kids are doing. I would never want this to happen to anyone out there, for their kid to be exposed to. I would be heartbroken if my child was exposed to pornography, especially through something like this. It's just heartbreaking. It's sad. And man, we need to be awake as parents. We need to be awake. I have a new book that just came out, How to Cast Out Demons. Everything opposite of the Wicked movie, everything you need to know about deliverance.
So, yeah. I'll just say it. These content creators are stoking fear and causing panic because it financially benefits them. They don't want you spending your hard-earned money on seeing a popular and culturally significant movie. Instead, they want you tithing to their church, a church they founded after basically being kicked out of their last one and buying their bullshit book about casting out demons. Oh God, considering Isaiah Saldivar has publicly said on stage at a church that autism is sometimes a product of demonic possession, you just know that this book is gonna be a poo-poo. Okay, that was the last running theme, but I wanted to briefly mention something that Angela Scafidi brought up in her video because it's just completely cuckoo crazy. So Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, the movie's two female leads, recently got matching tattoos to commemorate their time filming Wicked. Angela claims that these tattoos are equivalent to a blood sacrifice, and that this is one of the reasons why the movie is as popular as it is. Of course, it just can't be the case that the movie is popular because it's, a good fucking movie. No, the actors performed some esoteric blood sacrifice for all of Hollywood.
When you get a tattoo with a specific intent, you have to understand this is a breaking of blood. So this is a blood covenant. These two women are in a blood covenant together through witchcraft. They have made a blood sacrifice to one another, and they've also made a blood sacrifice to this film. So no wonder it's doing so well, because the devil requires blood just the same. Blood is God's idea. Blood sacrifice is God's idea. It's why Jesus had to die for us and shed his blood, because his perfect, pure blood was the only blood that could atone for our sin. So the devil steals that because he wants to be worshipped the way God is.
Okay, so a question we have yet to answer is, Why is media literacy among evangelicals this bad? Well, it's time for me to let you all in on a little secret. None of the content creators I mentioned in this video actually watched the movie. Mark Driscoll simply reacted to the Wicked trailer. Isaiah Saldivar just responded to a news story about the Mattel toy incident. And Angela Scafidi singularly focused on finding a connection between the movie's actors and the occult. None of them know what the movie is even about, but still position themselves as authorities on the topic. They're so overly confident that they condemn the movie for pushing witchcraft when really, as members of the far right, it'd be more fitting for them to criticize Wicked for its conversations about fascism and systemic disenfranchisement. I mean, it's shocking to me that not one of them called the movie woke, because in the original sense of the word, I mean, it is woke. Mark Driscoll literally calls everything he doesn't like woke, but curiously, he didn't call Wicked woke. Like, at this point, they're so media illiterate that I can make their arguments better than they can. Something mentioned in Zoe B's video was that when we think about media literacy, we mostly think about consumers of media and not media creators. However, media literacy has just as much to do with creators, and content creators are responsible for being media literate themselves. This means conducting proper research, citing sources, and carefully constructing something consumers can analyze and learn from. In other words, if you're gonna make a reaction video to a movie, you better actually watch the movie if you don't want to be called out for being unethical and lazy. Another thing discussed in Zoe's video was that the culture of instant gratification created by social media has much to do with increasing the visibility of media illiteracy. As a content creator, I've noticed that it's become increasingly difficult in the last few years to really succeed on YouTube without putting out constant content. Social media algorithms prioritize quantity over quality, especially on platforms like TikTok. They don't care if your content is good or well researched, they only care about showing more ads and keeping people on their platform. This means that as a creator, you're rewarded for putting out more and more content, leaving you with less time to spend on any individual video. So a half-assed reaction video to a movie that you didn't even watch that you can shit out in a day is probably gonna perform better than a well-researched video essay that takes weeks of work. It's simply easier and more profitable to cut corners, and some creators, even some sanctimonious Christians, are more than willing to bend morality for the sake of profit. In turn, their viewers come to expect this instant gratification. They expect their favorite content creator to keep feeding them content faster and faster, which trains minds to prefer easy content over thought-provoking content. Why listen to something that makes you think when you have content at your fingertips that confirms everything you already think? Why watch Wicked when you can just watch Mark Driscoll talk for like less than 3 minutes and confirm your preconceived notions about the movie? So, in summary, people like Mark Driscoll, Isaiah Saldivar, and Angela Scafidi are media illiterate because they're incentivized to be media illiterate. They can make a lot more money this way. Unfortunately, I don't think that we'll see an increase in media literacy until we stop incentivizing dogshit content like as a society. We need an entire reworking of social media because shaming individual creators isn't enough to slow the spread of media illiteracy. Mark Driscoll won't care what I say about him if he sees this video. He's making his bag, and that's all that matters. Okay, since I subjected you all to some horrible reaction videos about Wicked, how about I throw it over to someone who actually knows what the hell she's talking about, huh? Now, I know since we're about to change pace, some of you might be tempted to click off this video, but remember that you'll only increase your media literacy by continuing to watch. Don't be like the Mark Driscoll fanboys who cry at the mere thought of having to learn something new. All right, and with that, let's warmly welcome to the channel my best friend, Saddam.
I did want to talk about Wicked.
Yay!
We have to talk about Wicked because you are a
We
huge
have to.
Wicked fan, and you have been forever. I remember, like, in the dorm, you used to always play music from Wicked and sing. So, I was wondering, since you're such a fan, do you relate at all to the character of Elphaba, just kind of being like feeling more of an outsider and maybe being discriminated against to a certain extent? Like, can you relate to that character at all? And any other
How
thoughts
much?
you have about Wicked? Because I know that you probably have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, how much time do we have? So,
20
oh my God. Oh shit. Okay, I'll go really quickly because this is gonna be hard for me. Yeah, I'm a huge Wicked fan. Like, I knew Wicked before any of y'all knew it. Like, y'all don't even know. And funny enough, I discovered Wicked actually in high school. It was the perfect time actually for me to have discovered it because, you know, as like I think a lot of musical theater girlies and gals and people all kind of can relate to, you're not exactly the popular kid when you're into musicals. Like, you are, no. So you can imagine how much I would have not been very popular during my time in high school. But yeah, no, I was a massive fan. And I think the thing that is so universally like loved about the musical is how I think people just in general, no matter what lived experience you have, like if you lived in the same town for all your life or whatever, you don't necessarily feel like you fit in to their high school. But like for me on paper, just what we've discussed previously, I did not fit into that high school at all. Like it just like there was no amount of my personality that I could change or do or anything like that. I just did not fit in. That was always a thing. So to watch a character go through almost very similar lived experience to me with a different skin color and a different lived experience against the rest of the people that were around her was incredibly inspiring. It's almost like I felt like I saw myself on that stage. And to be honest, even to today, I don't feel like I've ever felt like that scene in a piece of media before. Like it is basically like exactly what I've gone through all my life. And yeah, I know a lot of people say that, but like I honestly do really feel that in my bones. To the point where like I did a cabaret recently and I sang "I'm Not That Girl" because like that song has been that deeply ingrained into myself, being like, I'm not sure if I could ever find love as like a Black woman, especially being in all of these non-Black spaces for sure. So like it's yeah, I can't. So, but like the thing I think that's the most inspiring about it is that the fact that Elphaba as a character. Oh wait, and before I go into that part, the fact that Elphaba in the movie is played by a Black queer woman just like adds so much more layers to that. I think I went on this on about it actually on Instagram because like I like honestly like I didn't even get through Defying Gravity. I was like in tears by the time she was like wrapping up because like it's just like I can imagine what she has also personally, Cynthia Erivo personally has gone through in her life to get to where she needs to be, especially as a British Nigerian woman, queer woman as well. Like I can't like. I'm sure she feels just as seen as probably as I do, if not maybe more so. So, but the thing is that the fact that I see her Elphaba and pick herself up as a character is like as a character itself, something that I find so inspiring was that despite all of that, she still continues to bet on herself. Like, and she does it again and again and again. And as you'll see in part 2, again and again and again. Like she is so incredibly confident. She knows who she is. She knows her morals. She knows exactly the sort of person that she is and that she is in the right, and she taps into that every single time. Like she doesn't need external validation from the world. She knows she's the shit. And she is the shit.
Yeah.
So if she can do that, like why also can I not? Like why I can also bet on myself as well too and believe in like my talents and my beliefs. And even if the rest of the world is saying you can't do it, which a lot of the time, especially as Black women, we get that sort of validation. Fuck that. I'm going to do it anyway. Like, I'm going to find my own path and reach my own niche. So honestly, it's a bit of a hyperbole, but I honestly do believe this. The musical literally has changed my life. It literally changed my trajectory, because being in a high school where like wasn't really being seen, not really being recognized for everything that I brought and like the talents that I have. I mean, I was seen for some of my talents. I will give it that. Like, people did recognize it, especially like shout out to actually my theater teachers. I can't forget, I'm remembering Mr. and I can't remember. It's I can't remember her name. You know her. She's like Mrs.
Hi there.
Yeah. But
Yes.
both,
Yeah.
Mrs. Yeah. So like,
First name.
yeah, exactly. Shout out to like both of you, because honestly, like if it wasn't for you believing in me as well and like seeing how talented I was, that I actually probably, and then also having this musical come along as well too, I also wouldn't have never felt like I would be limited by like my skin color or my lived experience. And because of that, like Elphaba is my dream role. Like that's why I'm in musical theater. That's the person I want to play on stage. Like, and I do wholeheartedly like mark it on the wall. I will be playing her. I don't know where, but I will be playing her at some point in my life. So like, you know,
I believe it. You're gonna do it.
So yeah, like I think yeah, it's just something, it was just so powerful. And like I'm so glad that everyone else now gets to finally discover this for themselves, and you know, have an Elphaba that looks like me as well too. You know, and grow up with that and recognize that like no matter where you've grown up, no matter what your lived experience is, like you can do it. You can be a powerful person of that, and you don't need anyone to validate that for you.
Yeah, no, I love that so much, because yeah, I forgot that we were like in theater together. Yeah, we did theater in high school together.
Yeah.
It was just like a few stints. It wasn't a very like big class. But I mean, I wouldn't have done it because I am not like, we've established I'm an introvert. I don't love being on stage unless I like have a guitar or something between me and other people.
Yeah.
But like I think that if we hadn't been doing that together, I wouldn't have done it. I would have been too scared. But yeah, like Drew and I saw Wicked recently, and after seeing it, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I haven't been on the Wicked train this long. Like, this is why Saddam loves it so much. Like, I understand now. Like, it makes sense. And I like regret that I didn't like get more invested in it when we were in high school, because I love the messaging on it. And I 100% like see you as Elphaba. And I think like that is one thing that I admire so much about you. Like, one of the reasons I love you so much is that you're true to yourself no matter what. You're always going towards your goals. You advocate for yourself. You're not willing to settle. You know your worth, and that's Elphaba, and that's you. And so I don't know. It's just it was a very emotional experience, me watching Wicked. I was like, this is so beautiful. I totally understand why Saddam loves it now. I get it.
Even I think my sisters were saying the exact same thing, because like Afi was like, I completely understand why she is obsessed with this musical. Oh my God, it is a gorgeous musical. Like she like now I'm so glad that everyone's now understanding my crazy. Because and a lot of Wicked girlies crazy actually from the 2004 onwards. Like it is like I'm glad that everyone's jumping on this train, because like, you know, like I think a good musical has a universal message that no matter who you are, everyone can relate to it. That's if you look at any successful musical in the last like honestly since the dawn of the the form being created, every successful show is probably because they have something to relate to. I mean, even take a look at even Fiddler on the Roof, something so niche that has to do with I can't even say Ashkenazi Jews in Russia, but like the idea of Ashkenazi. Thank you. I think that's correct. I don't know, but like something that's so niche, but like the fact that they are being ostracized from their home, the only home they've ever known. 3 girls that are looking for love and they don't know where they're gonna find it, but they find it in the weirdest places. Like all of that sort of stuff. Like, you know, like wanting to be a wealthy person, but you can't have any this and that. Like all of those sort of things, everyone can relate to. Like my dad's, like, honestly, his song is "If I Was a Rich Man." That is his song. Like, you know, Gwen Stefani sampled it for a reason. So, like, I think, you know, and I think that's the beauty about Wicked. I think it is a very universal theme, and I am actually very grateful to someone who loves musicals so much directing it, because you can tell, like, if you watch, like, maybe any of the other musicals that have come out recently, like I would say even Mean Girls, the movie musical, like you could tell when like a director really enjoys the media form or just is trying to shy away from it. Like that, they were trying to shy way away from the fact that it was a musical, which was disappointing. Whereas Wicked, and even In the Heights, who was directed by the exact same person, you can tell that the person is like a diehard Broadway fan. Like they brought it really honestly to life through song. And I think it's incredible, I guess, to kind of see someone with that much appreciation for the media form, you know, be a part of it. So yeah, I'm really keen, and I'm glad that everyone's getting into it now. And yeah, it's a beautiful universal message I think that everyone can tap into. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I think no matter who you are watching it, I think that you can relate to it to a certain extent. Like most people feel at some point in their lives that they don't fit in. And so like you can very easily like relate to Wicked. But for me, like watching it, I think I saw a lot of parallels. Like it applies to a lot of things, obviously, but I'm seeing a lot of parallels between like the animals are like basically being like scapegoated, and like all of society's problems are being put on them. And I feel like there's a lot of parallels between that and like the trans community and like what's going on with like trans folks and how they're being kind of like scapegoated, and we're pretty much putting all of our problems in America onto them, and they've become the villains. And there's basically a moral panic going on about them right now. And I feel like, I don't know, I could just see a lot of parallels between that.
Yeah. I mean, look, another good hallmark of a good musical is how many themes can you pack into it while making sure that the story is very cohesive. And that animals, like the problem with the animals is spot on, like spot on. I agree. I think like, you know, there is, it's literally like seeing life imitate art, like art imitate life. That's it. That's the phrase. Art imitate life, in a sense. Like, you know, with especially what's happening in the US, and all of a sudden there's a trans panic about, oh, who's using the right bathroom and all that sort of bullshit. Like, and you know, kind of seeing that played out in Wicked is actually incredibly powerful. I think the problem, and I don't know why we don't do more of this, is apply some of the lessons that we learn, because we see what's happening with this is very wrong. Why are animals being slammed to the side like this? Why are we excluding them and all that sort of stuff? And we can't necessarily apply that in real life for some strange reason. I guess, or we're able to make justifications for it for some strange reason. And we have people like stepping up to the plate and being like, no, we're not going to take a stand for this. We're going to be allies and we're going to support them. But even still, like all of a sudden, like they're being ostracized and things like that. I mean, something that I hate about Ghana is that there's a proposed anti-LGBTQ bill that is actually been, I think, approved by Parliament, but our president has not put it into force because it risks all the aid donations that we are getting from the US, the UK, the IMF, all of that sort of stuff being stopped. So he hasn't signed anything yet. Something great that, yeah, anyway. And part of the legislation in the bill actually penalizes allies of the LGBTQ plus community. It's exactly what's happening in Wicked. Exactly what's happening. They penalizing anyone that is different and does not stand for the quote unquote status quo. And then it is also, and then it also punishes those who are supporting those who may not necessarily identify exactly with this community, but will support this community and be allies with it. And it breaks my heart, because that is not the country that I know. We are a country that's very collectivist. We are a community. We support everyone in this community. And so we're only doing what we've been taught. but like you're now penalizing us for that. And so like I think the fact that we're able to like recognize that things are wrong in art but then not translate that over in real life is fucked. I mean, like, I don't know if it's a media literacy thing. I don't know if we need to open the schools. I don't know if, like, you know, what the problem is exactly with that. And if we're not just been, and if our education has slumped so much that we're not able to translate those sort of things that we see in media, in books, in TV shows, and translate that and apply that, and the lessons from that, apply that in real life. I'm not sure why we're not able to do that. But yes, you're 100% right. And it's not necessarily even just the LGBTQ community. If you look at any country in the world where people are considered different, and there's a minority, there will be a panic around that. I can even talk about that at length about that in Australia as well, and you know, different nationalities and minorities and ethnic groups around that as well too. So yeah, it's awful, and I think we have a lot of work to do, and I think, especially for me as an ally, I'm not going to stop talking about this and, you know, hopefully trying to get people to understand that, like, yes, you saw that was bad here. Now, don't we think it's bad over here? You know, that sort of thing. So, yeah, like, I don't know. I think that takes time, but I think it is a bit disappointing that with all of our technological advancements and all that we've learned so far in the world, that we're still missing things and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a very applicable example and a very applicable message from Wicked as well.
Yeah. I think like for me watching it, that was the immediate parallel that I had, was like, okay, this is like exactly what's happening to the trans community right now, you know? And Drew and I were actually watching the movie in this like really small town in East Texas that's very conservative. And like the theater was pretty packed. But it was kind of shocking to realize, like, a lot of these people, like, I'm not sure if they're getting the messaging of this, you know? Like, I don't know if they understand, like, yeah, you think, like, what's happening to the animals and what's happening to Alphaba and Wicked is horrible. But yet, like, I'm assuming to know people's, like, political affiliation that were at the theater. But I would guess that a lot of them, like, lean Republican. But you recognize that this is not okay in the movie, then like why are you voting into office people that literally like want trans people dead, like, or want to repeal gay marriage? Like, okay, why is that happening? You know, because they're very analogous. So I think media literacy I think is definitely going down for sure, especially in the United States. Education in general is not great here right now, and it's about to get a lot worse with Trump being in office and who he's appointed as in charge of the Department of Education, and like wants to basically get rid of the Department of Education. So yeah, I'm so glad that you're not in the US anymore, even though I wish that you did live in New York still, so that would be closer and it would be easier for me to get to you. I also feel like it might not be the best to be here right now. So.
Yeah, I have learned that as well too, given what has currently happened recently. That breaks my heart because New York always has a place in my heart, and I have way too many people I love in the US at the moment that I'm sad that I'm not going to get to see. You included, obviously. Like, I'm sad that you're not like a flight away. Now you're like multiple flights away. But hey, you haven't been to Australia yet, so. Like, opportunities there.
I know. It's like, I want to go. Yeah, for sure. I'm going to come. I
know you will.
It's so far.
I get that. Like, I know you will. Like, I have no doubt that you are going to come. We just need to, like, make it work. And if it means, like, me flying, like, halfway to, like, Fiji or Hawaii, and then I'll pick you up and we go together. Oh, sure. That's an idea. We did talk about that. So, yeah. So, like, I think... like, you know, we'll make it work. But yes, I mean, especially, you know, I was there for the first Trump presidency. Wasn't a fan, unfortunately. I realized that as much as I love New York, and it is very much a bubble, New York, unfortunately, is still attached to the rest of the United States, and it will be impacted by whatever happens. And so I don't really want to be a part of that. And I am blessed and very grateful that I had the opportunity to leave. And I know that not everyone does have that. So I am very much still rooting for your guys's like the continued success of everybody, and like I am definitely like cheering and like supporting everyone from afar. But like you know, if it makes you feel any better, look, I think Australia is heading down a very slippery slope at the same time, so I might have left for maybe not that much better prospects. Some people are more optimistic than others. I know, and I think Australians have a bit more of a level head, if I must be honest with you. But I am seeing some troubling waves and ripples happen. And you know, I'm concerned going into this new year. But yeah, you know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Look, in my opinion, and in my whole life on this earth and all the travels that I've done, to say some pigeon, nowhere cool, nowhere's good. Everything's shit. No things, there is not necessarily a place that's going to be 100% great. I think honestly, I think if anything, we should do our best to try and leave the world a little better than we came into it, and do our best in that regard. But at the same time, we do also need to look after ourselves and make sure that we're living fulfilling lives and that we're happy in the life that we're living.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best that we can do as individuals. I'm not Elon Musk. I can't do anything. I'm not a billionaire. So like, you know, if I had more power, obviously.
Elon Musk. That's another conversation that we can.
That is another conversation. That is sorry. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Well, I wish that we could go longer, but unfortunately, I do have to. We have to wrap up. Is there anything that you want to plug, like Instagram or like anything?
Sure. Look, if you like musical, I don't even do much musical theater content, but I sing a lot. And if you like beautiful pictures and like to see a little bit of my weird world, you can follow me on Say Banini, SAY and then BANINI, on Insta. And if you like Formula One, I don't know if we'll still be around next year. Tay's actually been on the show a couple of times, and picked up a few things. I'm very proud of her. Really? It was once? Oh, yes, it was once. Well, I'll have to get you on again anyway. But like, if you're into Formula One and want to hear the ramblings of three sisters who don't know much about it, you can also follow us on Box Goss F1. And yeah, we're wrapping up actually this season, so stay tuned for that. So that's it.
Thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, I feel like this has been a really good conversation. And hopefully we'll have more.
Thank you all for watching, and a huge thank you to my patrons who help make these videos possible. If you like this video, please be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. If you'd like to follow me on social media, my Instagram is Taylor_the_antibot. And if you'd like to consider supporting this channel financially, a link to my Patreon will be down in the description, and we'll see you on the next one. Say bye!